sustainable hull cleaning systems and have found a solution that solves biofouling challenges for the shipping industry. So please welcome ECOsubsea and their Vice President of Sustainability, Abigail Robinson.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to Inventas for inviting us along to speak here. We're going to go on a bit of a journey together today. Just bear with me. You might be thinking at the beginning, what does this have to do with your company? But just a bit about me. I come from New Zealand, hence the English, apologies. I worked, before starting at ECOsubsea, I worked for 6 years in the government there in biosecurity, keeping pests and disease out of New Zealand. And for 3 years, I was in charge of the world's first biofouling regulations. So I used to make shipping's lives a nightmare. But now I've jumped over to the solution space because when I worked in the government, I saw the sheer lack of good solutions for the industry to overcome the biofouling issue. So today I'm going to go through like a bit of a thought exercise around what is actually a good solution in relation to sustainability, and how that solution connects with nature, and how when going forward creating these solutions we really need to think about the interconnectivity of these two things. And then I'll go into a bit about ECOsubsea and how we are sort of tackling these trifecta of issues that relate to biofouling. So for a solution, what is the measure of success? Very simply, it's created with a specific goal in mind. You have a problem, you have a solution. And it's good when the goal is achieved. Very, very simply. And the solutions have positive connotations, right? Someone says, don't worry, I have a solution. You're like, oh, thank God. And they're like, I'm going to drive my car through the wall to get it out of the house. And you're like, oh, maybe not, that's not a good solution. So it's important to think about perspective around where this solution was conceived, right? And when you think of the atomic bomb, it's, one man's solution became humanity's burden forever, right? So we're going to have a little bit of a discussion here that involves Nelly. So say that we're in the room right now and it's getting hot, right? And as I learned recently, Norway does not do air conditioning, for obvious reasons, yet. A bit dark, but yet. So how might we solve this problem? We want to get fresh air into the room. So sir, if you wanted to get fresh air into the room right now, what would you do?
Open the window.
Yeah, that's a good solution. And how would you do that? Just go over and open it? Yeah, okay. Well, I've got a secondary solution. You, sir, I'm going to put you in a medieval suit of armor and tell you to run through that window as fast as you can. Technically, I've achieved the goal, right? But it's a dumb solution. And why isn't it considered good over his solution? It's because the measure of success was actually broader than the initial goal, right? There was a line that was not worth crossing, putting this man's life at risk and also causing damage to property and things like that. So the acceptance of a solution, it can be socially imposed in terms of morals and what is acceptable, right? Yes, I put that. I did actually change that image, but I just wanted to see who agreed with the original version of it, but I'll change it now. And also what else factors into it is the value that is placed on what is going to be impacted, right? So that window, it has a value, it has a purpose, and sure, if you smashed it and it let cool air in, that solves the problem, but then tomorrow when it's freezing cold, or you don't want people just to be able to walk in and out of here, it's no longer serving its function. Plus, it's financial. And most of the considerations we make, they're very human-centric. And the point I'm making here is that nature is frequently missing from this value system when we decide what is an acceptable line to cross in terms of reaching this goal. And many sustainable solutions, they fail to see the whole picture and how everything is linked together when you think of this, and can result in negative impacts. So I changed a classic phrase there. So we've got value lies in the eye of the beholder, right? So these two people could not have a more different value system. If you asked one of them to put environment over the profits, he would probably fire you. The other one would argue that the environment and profits are inherently linked, and to save the environment is to secure future profits anyway. I'll let you guess who says what. But the point is that we have these goals now, these sustainable development goals, and they kind of act as our collective compass when helping us to make decisions around a strategy for achieving these sustainable solutions. It helps us to see what we should be factoring in as we work towards this goal together. So Rachel Carson, in her book Silent Spring, puts it very simply: in nature, nothing exists alone, right? Everything is connected and everything impacts each other, including us. Even when you're in the middle of a city, you're being impacted by nature and the environment. And the SDGs, they do a great job at tidying a very messy, complex problem that the average person does not have the time or energy to conceive on their own. However, the danger is it can result in siloed thinking. And as you can see there in the image, climate is the favorite child. The climate SDGs is what everyone tends to think about because it's the most immediate concern at the front of our minds. However, the rest of the SDGs, they're all tied together. And the point is if your effort is focused on one and you're ignoring the others, or accidentally having a negative impact on the others while trying to achieve that one, it's kind of a wasted effort. So for example, biodiversity and climate, they're very linked, right? A stable biodiversity or a thriving biodiversity helps to stabilize climate, and vice versa. And then it works also in the negative. So if you have declining biodiversity, which we very much do, that's actually working to exacerbate the speed of the destruction of our climate, and vice versa. So I put my own little quote there: think like an ecologist, because in my training I am an ecologist, right? And what that means is it's the study of ecosystems, and you learn to read nature like a map, essentially. You learn to understand the connectivity between every organism in every direction, and also between them and their physical environment. And the impacts within an ecosystem have ripple impacts, and you'll probably hear that all the time. But what humans are very good at doing is removing ourselves from the ecosystem and forgetting that these ripple impacts actually impact us. It's just not so immediate. So what's important is to consider when you're looking for a good solution and you're aiming to achieve some of these sustainability goals, is remember they're all connected. The impact goes either way, and it can be negative and positive, right? And your solution sits in the heart of these goals, and it interacts with them as well. It becomes part of the ecosystem. So now, to the point of the topic, biofouling. The point of our business, ECOsubsea, is to remove biofouling from ships. In case you don't know, it's the biological growth that starts on the hulls of ships from the moment it touches the water forever. And it's an ongoing problem, but it comes with 3 issues attached to it. Pollution. So anti-fouling coatings are a solution, right? But they contain biocides, heavy metals, and plastics. 210,000 tons of those plastics end up in the ocean in the EU alone. The product is designed essentially to shed into the environment as a way of deterring biological growth, right? So it's there to solve the problem, but then it also becomes a part of the ecosystem of problems relating to biofouling. So it's quite complex. And then we have climate action, everyone's favorite. Drag is caused by biofouling, which increases fuel consumption. It estimated it costs an extra 100 million tons of CO2 being emitted unnecessarily by the shipping companies every year. And it comes with a hefty price tag, which is usually the motivator behind shipping actually managing the problem. And then we have life below water because of the invasive species that live on the hull. So that's my world, the biosecurity side. Basically, the ships are mobile homes for all kinds of organisms, and the ones that like to live on hulls are really tough and usually really mean, and when they come to nice clean places, they usually ruin them. And biosecurity is a huge business. It's a very big deal in New Zealand, but internationally it causes a massive extra cost on humanity dealing with the problems that come from invasive species disruption. So the current common practice, and it's been this way since about the 60s, is to remove biofouling with no capture in water. So just scrub it off, let it loose. And the logic is that you're solving the problem on the day for the future, right? So you're halting whatever species are on the hull and you're reducing your fuel consumption. However, you're essentially poisoning one place to protect the others. But this is the ocean, they're all connected, so that logic doesn't really work. So it focuses on climate impact reduction or fuel consumption reduction. So sure, you've got a green arrow there, that's a good impact towards climate reduction. However, it's justifying releasing those pollutants from the anti-fouling coating and also invasive species into the local ports under the banner of climate action. So then you've got negative direction going towards the other two SDGs. And it's exacerbating the little doom spiral that those three are linked up into, right? Remember, the pressure goes either way. So this is what I mean by it being a wasted effort. You're exacerbating more pressure on the climate just from a different direction. So we're using modern innovation to solve a centuries-old problem. Biofouling's been a problem for hundreds of years, with the aim to not cost our local communities and environment. We use advanced robotic technology to safely remove biofouling and capture everything and bring it up on land. And the aim is to have green arrows in all directions, right? Contaminants are filtered out, as I said, on land, and we have control of those, so then we can have safe disposal. And what that's doing is it's helping to stop this feedback loop that is the problem of biofouling. Our big hefty goal as a company is to save 100,000 tons of CO2 for the shipping industry. We're 4 million tons, an estimated 4 million tons of CO2 in since the beginning of ECOsubsea, but now we hope to hit the throttle and accelerate there because we're in our scale-up phase at very exciting times. But, you know, it's an obscenely big number, but it's, yeah, whatever. We'll just keep going until we, until we get there, right? But of course we have other targets that are involved in our grand scheme. So these are some of them from the SDG website. Some of them very obvious, so reducing marine pollution, we're doing that by capturing and stopping invasive species, protects to restore ecosystems. Increasing scientific knowledge, research and technology, that's basically we can't stop flapping our mouths and talking and telling everyone about this problem and trying to educate everyone we can. We work with scientific organizations, we work with other regulators, anyone who wants to, we bring them into our world, we give them access so we can continue to learn about this problem because there's actually a lot that we still do not understand about the biofouling issue. So here we have our grand to-do list, really. So, of course, we're saving the shipping industry 100,000 tons of CO2. We aim to responsibly manage chemicals and reduce waste. So we're actually working on finding a way to take the waste collected during cleaning, the biological waste, separate out the contaminants, and then see if we can find a nature-positive use for that product that we produce on the other end. We're protecting ocean ecosystems from invasive species, pollution and acidification. Oh, that's a lot. our aim is to produce a product that is affordable and available. So we've proved with our current technology that we can clean ships in a good way. Now we need to compete price-wise with the people who are doing it in a bad way, which is not easy. And we also need to do it faster because shipping are motivated mostly by the money and the efficiency. So by doing this, improving this product and bringing it out into the market, we're proving the point and we're allowing shipping to change their behavior and manage this problem better globally. And of course, like I said, we share, probably overshare, but we share everything we learn along the way. And we're very open to collaboration with other companies solving related issues or the same issue, anything like that. Because if we think in silos, it's like I said about the ecosystem, right? If we're thinking in our little narrow vision on our particular problem and forgetting that our problem relates to others, it's not going to help everyone get to the solution we want and really need. Thank you.
Thank you, Abigail. I love your reflections, and I'm a bit worried that we might be the favorite child since we only focused on we said, Oda said that we would focus on the climate SDG. But yeah, we will definitely take your reflections on board, and yeah, thank you for your insights. Are there any questions for Abigail?
Yeah. Is it common for pollutions to get stuck at the ship while they are sailing also, or just in the dock?
You mean the biofouling?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of an ongoing process. So the moment anything enters the ocean,
colonization begins. So typically when a vessel is sitting still and it's in a coastal environment, which is where all of the propagules tend to be concentrated, it gets picked up, but once they get attached, they're just continually growing. And biofouling encourages more biofouling. They kind of call other organisms to come and settle as well, and so the problem sort of escalates pretty rapidly if it's not managed.
Okay, so ECOsubsea then recommend to do cleaning at the dock where it's traveled from and when it arrives?
Yeah, it's an ongoing, it depends what you're trying to achieve. So in New Zealand, for example, if a ship is coming permanently to New Zealand, it has to come with a squeaky clean bottom. So pretty much you've got, within a month of arrival, you must have cleaned the ship to absolute zero. But it's not regulated like that around the world. So it's more about keeping the levels down to a minimal level with continual maintenance, so keeping on top of it and aware of it, to stop the ecosystem essentially forming and escalating on the hull. So the more developed it becomes, the higher the biosecurity risk is. So those high impact species tend to be associated with more dense, better established biofouling communities. So you kind of want to just keep interrupting it at an early stage.